Welcome to the UK PTs Podcast, where we delve into the world of personal training one episode at a time. Here are your hosts, Joshua Mullin and Mark Laws.
Right, Mark, we're here for episode 12.
Episode 12. Who would have thought?
I know, right? It's been 12 weeks, roughly.
Since we started recording today?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So, episode 12, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some highlights from the podcast, some lessons from 2020, and also our goals and objectives for 2021. So before we get started, I want to say thank you to our two sponsors. So first up, we have EMD UK, who are the governing body for group exercise in the UK. But alongside being an awesome organisation, they're offering insurance for personal trainers, sports therapists and instructors. Amazing coverage for pretty much an unbeatable price. So there'll be a link below me in a second, if not already. I might have put it in already. Who knows? Cheeky. Mark, who's our second sponsor?
Second sponsor is a Wolves and Fitness, highly rated and well-regarded equipment manufacturer and distributor, whatever you want to call them. I've been using Wolves and kit for a long, long time. They're well known for dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, but all manner of stuff, whether you're kitting out the biggest facility going or you're turning your shed into a little private gym getaway, then they are the company for you. UKPT 10 will get you, your mates, your granny, your auntie and your uncle and their pets a 10% discount off all of their gym equipment. And
to be fair, what grandmother doesn't want a kettlebell as part of her new regime? I mean, you go to Russia, everyone's swinging kettlebells.
Exactly. Is she even a grandma if she doesn't want a set of competition kettlebells?
I would doubt it. I don't think, yeah. Is she even a grandma?
Yeah.
So, let's start off. So, what we'll do with the highlights from the podcast so far, 12 episodes, is we'll just go one for one. Do you want to go first?
Do you trust me to go first?
I do. Well, no, I don't, but I do.
Okay. Well, you'll be surprised to hear that I've actually been quite sensible with my approach to this week's podcast.
Okay. I don't believe you.
I've got it all written down and planned out. So for me, for the first highlight, and I'm kind of going in reverse order. So I'm taking this from last week where we spoke to Chris Peel. And there's something right at the very end. So if you haven't watched it, I'm referring back to like the last 10 minutes when I asked him about his involvement with Eddie Hall, the world's strongest man. And there was just something he said that as he was talking, it just sort of like pinged in my head about the important message that he was conveying without really even realizing he was conveying it. So put it into context, you're talking about someone who's working with the strongest man in the world. So it's safe to say that as clients go, pretty much up there, and the clue's in the title, there aren't many people around, if any, that are going to be more specialist in what they're trying to achieve with their goals. And Chris's approach to working with Eddie Hall was, first of all, it came about because Chris had an interest in strongman training. From his interest in strongman training, which then meant that he understood the demands of the sport, he understood the preparation, like the rigors of the sport, how to improve an athlete within that area. Started off with an interest in Strongest Man. That then led him to set that up as his niche that he worked with. Then when it came to trying to persuade one of the strongest men in the world, who's got every man and his dog telling him what he should be doing, like, it came down to the fact that Chris spoke in his language. So he didn't add all the fucking bells and the whistles. He didn't try and show how big his dick is by bamboozling him with like evidence-based mumbo jumbo bullshit. He just explained it in a very sort of simplistic way that he knew Eddie Hall would understand and appreciate. And then the final step was the fact that he didn't reel off to Eddie Hall all of the features of his training, like, oh, Eddie, if you work with me, you get 2 chickens a week and I'll give you a recipe card and blah, 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 blah. He just told him the benefits of what he would achieve from following his advice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That worked wonders with his relationship with one of the strongest men in the world, who then went on to win the World's Strongest Man competition. But it also is like personal training 101 that all of us can take advantage of and implement with any client of any level. Like, it really helps if we've got an interest in what they're doing, whether that's football, rugby, hockey, cricket, or whether it's not a sport, whether it's just an activity or a hobby, or whether it's the fact that they've got children or something like that. There's just got to be something. If you've got like a vested interest of similar interest to the client, can you then turn that into a niche? Like, so you are the go-to person for busy dads who like rugby or whatever. The more specific the niche, the more successful you can be. Then can you deliver it, and can you speak in their language, which helps. You can only really do that if you understand it and you've got that interest. And then the final bit, just don't just list the features of what people get. Tell them the benefits that they're going to achieve. And for me, that was a big highlight. The fact that it was comparable from someone competing up here in an elite sport to any one of us that are dealing with people at the opposite end of the spectrum that just want to lose weight, tone up.
Agreed, man. I think it's a massively important point that people forget. As you can probably tell, I read quite a lot of books, and that's one of the things that comes up over and over again in a lot of like marketing books and sales books is explain the benefits, not the features, and it's something that's massively overlooked by a lot of people. Another thing I want to quickly mention is that my highlights are a little bit different to yours. Yours seem more educational, whereas mine are just a bit funny. So I think
it would be a refreshing change for me to be taking things seriously and for you being a plonker.
This is true. So my first highlight is not a funny one, but it's something that's made me quite proud. And we spoke about this earlier before we started recording, that so far, in 12 weeks, we've had, and I checked the stats this morning, just over 3,000 listens and views. So that's across the podcast platforms that we're on, as well as on YouTube as well. And the thing that I'm really surprised about is the majority of them have come from listeners from the podcast, whereas as opposed to the YouTube channel, which I thought was going to be the other way around. I think it was about 500 more on the podcast rather than the YouTube channel. So I'm really proud that something that was just really kind of meant to be us talking shit and just kind of, discussing everything and anything has turned into this kind of this vehicle for good, So, I mean, as one example, I'm just going to quickly load it up. We had a comment on one of our YouTube videos the other day from someone saying about how much we've helped them.
Really?
Yeah, I'll quickly read it to you just because.
Well, if it was from Jane Elizabeth Laws, that's my mum.
It's from a channel called Time to Burn. So I assume a personal trainer. And it was on last week's episode. She put, "Thanks both. I found the podcast really useful these last couple of months. Have a good Christmas." And there was another person.
Very sweet.
I know, right? Sounds like an amazing personal trainer. And then someone else put, "Good job. Dudes with a lot more subscribers than you have way worse audio and visuals. Great interviews."
Yeah, do you know what? When I will agree with that. I don't want to blow smoke up our own arses or blow our own trumpets, because we are literally just sitting. Oh, fucking Freya! Fucking. There you go. How's that for professional quality when a dog is trying to tear a cardboard box to shreds? Yeah, we just, this is all done on a whim, isn't it? We're sitting here just having a random chat, but I listen to a lot of other podcasts, and most of them are shit. They're just fucking boring. Like, so if we serve one purpose to just not be as boring and shit as most of the others. I was listening to there's some guys, and they're Americans, 3 of them. I can't even remember what it's called. But when they intro their podcast, they say how it's the #1 fitness podcast in the world. And they only have they just maybe average 800 to 1,200 viewers per episode. We're not a million miles away from that, but the quality of their show is pretty shit, to be fair. It's not shit. It's just nothing special. It's very, very vanilla.
Yeah. And if that's one thing that we're not, I would say, is we're not vanilla. Being honest, I do hold back a little bit on the episode sometimes. I swear a lot less than I do in real life.
Yeah, me too.
And, wow, really? And, are you sure?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think for me, one of the highlights is the surpassing 3,000 viewers and listeners. And I think I'm really hoping that as 2021 takes hold, we can really help a lot more people and, help reverse or resist some of the change that has happened due to the negative circumstances of 2020.
Absolutely, mate. And more importantly than that, worst case scenario, if people just make 2 hours of their week, just have a little bit of a giggle, like when all the shit is hitting the fan left, right and centre, and they're spending the whole week sulking about not being able to do their job as effectively as they'd like, then at least just come and have a listen and share your misery with us. We're in the same boat, but just we might make a few people smile.
Exactly. Okay, so your second highlight, Mark.
My second highlight, from a professional perspective, but that will all end soon, comes from Stephen Aish's podcast. So where we're talking all things mindset and all that sort of voodoo stuff. And it was I think a really important thing about putting yourself first. And Stephen tells a story, and I've seen him do it live in front of a room full of sort of 60, 70 people, where he says, who has children? All the people with children put their hands up. Who would put their child first ahead of them? Every single person who has a child keeps their hand up, because of course, as a parent, you would put your child first. And then he says, you're all wrong. And as callous as that sounds, as bad as that sounds, it actually is the right thing to do, because he gives the example of, if a plane crashes, they tell you to put your own mask and life jacket on first before helping your children, because if you're dead, or if you're fucked, or if you're knackered, then your children have got no chance. Mm-hmm. So just to get people to understand that sometimes just putting yourself first will then have a better effect on how much you can help the people around you. So that analogy is using like parents and children, But it works exactly the same with clients. You've got people who are replying to clients at 11:30 at night and then getting up at 5 a.m, and you go out for a family dinner and you just have to reply to these 3 messages because someone's asked you to explain what a macro is again. Sometimes just fucking leave it. Like, put yourself first, and then the clients will benefit from you, like sharpening your saw, from you refreshing your mind, like switching off, whatever it is you may do, but don't be afraid to put yourself first.
100% agree. And I've definitely been in that position before, and I've had to change some things in my businesses before where people had unlimited access to me or whatever. And do you know what? It makes me laugh. Not makes me laugh, but it makes me curious when I see people put on their list of features for a PT thing, 24/7 access. I'm like, fuck that. If you call me at 3 a.m, I'm going to tell you to fuck off.
They say that knowing that no one's going to ring them at 3 a.m, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And it's well, you say that. I had a client once when I was like 19. She phoned me up at like 3 a.m. because she was absolutely smashed, and she'd been out, and this woman, this client of mine, was like, "I'm in the kebab shop. What should I get? Like, should I get what?" And I was like, "If you phone me again at this time, I'm going to kill you." And yeah, she never did phone again. But it's just fucking ridiculous that they think that people have got that kind of right to be able to contact you at that time, but it's only what we've created ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we've all done it, haven't we? And you make a rod for your own back by just desperately trying to offer something that seems like it's a good idea, probably because the PTs that you're competing with left and right, they don't do it. So I will go above and beyond and offer 24/7 access. Or you might have seen, I don't know, fucking Gary Vaynerchuk might have said it once or something. So then everyone goes, "Oh, I'm available 24/7." He might not have, like, Gary, if you're listening, I do apologise if you never did say that. I'm sure he likes to tune in. But you know what I mean? Like, someone, it could be, like, fuck me, what was it, last year or the year before? Mark Wahlberg came out with his daily routine. I get up at 3 a.m, and then I have my breakfast and I meditate for 3 hours and I do this and I do that and I go to bed at 5 p.m. And then everyone and every man and their dogs are going, "Oh, you got to get up at 3 a.m. because Mark Wahlberg does." I'm like, hang on a minute. If you just change the numbers of his day, if he just got up at fucking 7 a.m. and went to bed at 10 p.m, he could do exactly the same shit in the same order. It wouldn't make a fucking difference. Like, all he's done is shifted bedtime to, like, come on, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Mark Wahlberg's amazing because he gets up at 3 a.m. He probably did that twice and never fucking again. Like, just get over it.
Yeah, I mean, that's another episode in itself, isn't it? Talking about things like that, because people are always like, "Oh, you know, like The Rock, he has these epic cheat meals, and Mark Wahlberg does this, and blah blah blah." But they're getting paid, 50 million to train like that, to get in shape for a movie or whatever. Obviously, The Rock is a bit of an exception because he loves the training and stuff. But if you've got any celebrity that's getting paid an excessive amount of money to get in shape, they've got a trainer, they've got like massage therapists, they've got nutritionists, they've got food prep, they've got a home gym, they've got everything they need made as simple as possible. They've got everything that your clients don't have, basically. And they've got time, they've got nannies, they've got sleep, they've got everything. Yeah, I can't remember where we were going with that, but
well, it was loosely connected to PTs offering 24/7 access.
That was my point.
And me hypothesizing that it could be because they heard it or saw it from some sort of guru and then copying it. But
because my final point on that as well, the other thing is, if you make yourself super available all the time, you decrease your value because you're not as exclusive.
Yeah.
And that's a massive point people forget. Like, people will then start forgetting, they'll start taking you for granted, you know? Like, I remember back in the day, and I'm only talking about a few years, but ordering takeaway was like a bit of not an ordeal, but there was more work involved than there is now.
Yeah.
And because the accessibility of food has increased, people take it for granted. Like, ordering a takeaway isn't seen as like a thing, and it's nothing. Like, you just go, just eat, boom, food will be here in half an hour.
Yeah.
And throughout lockdown, I've definitely abused my Just Eat and Deliveroo accounts.
Mate, I live in the fucking middle of nowhere. There isn't like Just Eat. Do you know what? I've never used Just Eat. I've never used Deliveroo, and I've never used Uber.
I've never used Uber either. Yeah, never had to. Maybe me and you should just get an Uber sometime and get some food delivered.
Yeah. I mean, where I live, if I want to get fingered by a seedy old man, I just go to Wetherspoons.
Yeah, I just go to Mark's house.
Hey.
Way, shots fired. Okay, so
your highlights.
Oh, what should we do? I've got a list in front of me. So I think number 3 has got to be Phil Lerney's talking speed. That episode is one of our most downloaded, and I have to think it's because of obviously the amount of content that Phil gets through and the quality of the content in 2 hours. There was so much value. It was massively valuable.
Yeah.
And I think most of that's got to be down to how fast he can talk.
Yeah, and if you slowed it down to like normal speed, it'd probably be a 6-hour episode
minimum.
Yeah. Do you know what? I was so engrossed in like listening to what he was saying, I didn't even notice the speed of talking until you called him out on it. And he took it well, to be fair, didn't he? He didn't get upset with you. He took it on the chin. But it's a compliment because of, I think you get from with Phil, like, you name someone in the fitness industry and I've seen them live in the flesh speaking on stage, like if they're worth watching. And Phil Lerney is the only one who doesn't have a USB, he doesn't have slides, he doesn't have notes. He literally just stands on stage and talks. And he is fucking seamless. It's like going to watch like a stand-up comedian or someone who just like bang, 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 just non-stop for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. No repeating, no stumbling, no umming or erring, just constant quality, sensible, intelligent, easily digestible information. And the fact that you've got no slides or no presentation to hide behind, I really like watching him present and watching him speak. And the fact that he speaks a bit quick just means that you get more in the same amount of time.
Exactly. What's your third one, Mark?
My third one goes all the way back to episode 1 with James Smith. And just as we were chatting along, he sort of came from nowhere, just came out with an off-the-cuff suggestion. And I believe it was something along the lines of, PTs, we're in lockdown, we can't operate face-to-face. So he's like, so there's nothing stopping you selling a service to people who are on furlough, who are stuck at home. That's the equivalent of, I think, £1 per working day is what he said. So like £20 a month or something, that just literally hold them accountable, give them as much information as you can. You can't go to the gym to work. They can't go to the gym to train. So use that time wisely. And there's no reason why you can't offer that and then build up a sustainable business that's giving you hundreds and hundreds of potential clients all over the world that now can actually earn you a lot of money. And weeks after that, I spoke to a girl who messaged me, Robin Drummond, sent me a message. She's a PT. I think she's been on one of my courses in the past, and she was praising the podcast. And she had sort of told me a story about how in the start of the first lockdown, she did exactly the same. I think it was a £10 a month private group that started somewhere for her clients to have somewhere to go just to get the bare minimum of access to her. And it grew and grew and grew. And I think now she's got best part of 600 people in there. So you're looking at, that's big money. That's $6,000 a month. That's 70 grand a year. That is probably quadruple most PTs' income just from a very low cost, fairly low maintenance service that over delivers for what it costs. Daya, shut the fuck up. Sorry, mate.
Would you like me to cut that bit out, or should I leave it in?
Leave it in. She's sulking now. Okay. Shut up. Shush. Fucking hell. Yeah, anyway, so it's just, that's one of my highlights is the fact that someone like James, who is up there in terms of PTs who are servicing huge numbers of people and earning big numbers, and for him to just sort of chuck in an off-the-cuff idea and then to hear from somebody who actually has been doing that same thing and now has a 70 grand a year income just from this group, then that to me is a big highlight. Just shows how easy it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually my next, kind of ties in with my next highlight, which was having James Smith as our first guest. So I'll come to that in a minute. But yeah, I think it's come up a few times actually between me and you privately, but I don't think people understand, this is what you've said to me a lot of times, how intelligent James Smith is. You know, he comes across as this kind of geezer, and he's kind of offensive, and people like that or they hate it. But I think in podcast number one, episode number one, he really did come across as an intelligent guy who's really got some good ideas. And I think there was a massive amount of value in that episode. And I think for me, the thing that I was kind of looking back on it now, I'm kind of a bit shocked and impressed that we managed to get him as our first guest. So that, in combination with our 3,000 listeners, is a massive achievement. And obviously you got him as the first guest. So I think that's a massive, kudos to you. And I think it just goes to show that there's a lot of personal trainers or just business owners out there that think, oh, should I start a podcast? Should I do this? Should I start a Facebook group? Just do it. Like, who cares? Just do it, and things will start to happen. And I think this podcast is a great example of that.
You sure as hell, if you switch that on its head by not doing something, you can fucking guarantee that nothing will happen. That's exactly. That's the safest bet on the planet, that by doing nothing will happen. Just by doing it doesn't mean you're going to be an overnight success. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but at least you've got the ball rolling. Brendan Chaplin, when I worked with him for a year or two, and he had quite a good little saying, which I think I've mentioned on the podcast before, and it was ready, fire, aim. So obviously the saying is normally ready, aim, fire. He's like, no, ready, fire, just fucking do it. And then once you've done it, then worry about where you're aiming and just like hone in the sort of small little bits and pieces. Worry about that later. Just do it, and then tweak it as it goes. And on the James Smith front, yeah, he's a big coup, huge, great big name. I think what you get, if you without sounding disrespectful, most personal trainers are less successful than they would like to be. That's why so many people leave the industry, because they're not successful enough. So when you get people who are successful, they tend to be, when they're nobodies or they're just sort of creeping up, they become popular and people think they're funny. Then when they get to a certain level, people dislike them because they've got something that they haven't, if that makes sense. Joe Wicks is a perfect example. Name a PT who fucking loves Joe Wicks. You could probably count them on one hand. There's not going to be many, because most people go, oh, Joe Wicks, he's shit. He just does hit. He's dangerous. He's annoying. Like, me included. Like, they find all these things that they don't like about Joe Wicks, who is a personal trainer who earns fucking shitloads of money and helps shitloads of people. James Smith probably is on that same scale, because he's now extremely popular and well known, and he's also, like, he's made a point of helping the general public with the things that their personal trainers aren't helping them with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
He's picked up on what personal trainers are doing wrong and say, like, listen, most, not all, 'cause some personal trainers are fucking phenomenal. Most personal trainers are not teaching their clients these important things, so I'll do it for you. And it's worked brilliantly for him. Throw in then his laddish behavior, mannerisms, mentality, attitude, blah, 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 blah. He's funny, but underneath all of that is extreme intelligence that is played down massively to sort of play the fool, if that makes sense. But if you look at stand-up comedians, you take a comedian off TV, most of them will be like Oxbridge graduates. You have to be being funny is quite difficult. You have to be quite clever.
Okay, Mark, so what's number 4 of your highlights?
My fourth highlight is the range and diversity of answers that we've had to the simple questions in the 27 Club. And they were deliberately put in place to try and show somebody that there isn't like a way of being a PT. There's loads of different ways. Like, yes, there might be some ways that are more efficient than others, and there might be some routes and paths that are more efficient, but you can go anywhere you like, you can start from anywhere you like, and you can go at whatever speed you like, but it is possible to get from A to B in your own time somehow. Like, and little things like with flippant question like phone rolling, yes or no. Some people say yes, some people say no, some people say, well, it depends, I need more context. Mm-hmm. So just little things like that. Like, I don't know, just how long did it take you to do your course? Some people have been a couple of weeks, some people it's taken months and years. How long were you doing PT? How long, were you working in a gym before you were exclusive as a PT? Some people, no time at all. Some people, 4, 5, 6 years. Like, there's so much variation and on those answers that I think just hammers home that message to PT who's unsure, who's in the sort of the 80% who are struggling through their first couple of years and thinks, oh, the problem is I haven't got a degree. The problem is I'm not doing any gym hours, or whatever it is. Like, they can listen to the first 10 minutes of all 11, 12 podcasts and hear a very diverse range of approaches to doing the job very, very well.
Agreed. And I think the thing that I love is that although everything's different, there are still kind of underlying themes beneath the answers, if that makes sense. So one thing that always comes up is people saying, I always carry on learning. I always try and stay humble. I always read more books. I always focus on networking. Like there's these things that keep coming up over and over again. Communication, yeah, that's probably number one, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of PTs should be kind of trying to find out and read between the lines and look at the recurring themes between all of the guests. I think that's a massive, massive thing. So my final highlight is, I believe, the same as yours. I'm pretty much guaranteeing that it is.
I did pick up on this, yeah.
Yeah. So one of my highlights for the podcast was Emma Story-Gordon's episode when asked if she would rather shag a goat and nobody knows, or nobody knows, and whichever way around it is. And she
either shag a goat and nobody would ever know about it, or not shag the goat but everyone thinks that you have.
And Emma asked for the logistical specifics on goat shagging, positions,
yeah.
Instruments.
She sort of caught me unawares, really, because I only ever expected people to say I would not shag the goat, and I'll let people think that I have. Tough shit. And Emma sort of came back with, "Can I have some more details, please?" And I didn't really know how to respond. It's like, what more details do you need? Like the goats wearing stilettos and like suspenders, like all slutty looking. Like what details do you need? And then I do believe she asked if would it be that Emma's wearing a strap on and is giving it to the goat, or is the goat fucking her? She, fair play to her, before jumping in and answering the question, she wanted to know all the potential, the context of the situation. So I suppose there's a lesson in there somewhere. Don't just jump in and ask silly questions without first finding out all of the information. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight. Fair play to Emma.
Oh, crazy times.
On a serious note, that question is there as a means to demonstrate that all of the people, they don't give a shit about what people think about them, as long as when they go to sleep at night, they are happy with they trust themselves to have done the right thing, to have acted in an ethical manner, to maintain their integrity, regardless of what other people think. My personal integrity is more important. So I will happily not shag the goat, even if that means that every person in the world thinks that I'm a goat shagger. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that obviously is how it's been. I know. I think Coomber said he'd shag the goat, didn't he? So he went against the grain. Emma asked for more details. Everyone else just sort of played it with a straight bat and maintained their integrity. So there's a slightly serious notion to what is a fairly silly question. But yeah, Emma asking if the goat was wearing a strap on was. Or no, if Emma was wearing a strap on. I can't remember how it went, but it was funny anyway.
See, I thought that question was only put in there to kind of give the government a means of building some sort of watch list, potentially, of people that answered yes. They're put on a little list and then they're scrutinised.
That could be one of the positive side effects, that now Ben Coomber is on some kind of like bestiality watch list.
And Emma.
Some sort of neighbourhood. He lives in the country as well, so you got to watch him.
Going to be banned from all the zoos.
Yeah. No walks in the country for you, Ben Coomber.
Bad boy.
Hey,
Hey!
I see what you've done there.
I was feeling a bit sheepish, but I thought I'd go for it.
Oh,
Dad
mate.
jokes for days. Okay, so moving on swiftly. We've also discussed some lessons from 2020, the things that we've learned so far. It's been a bit of a kick in the dick this year for most people, but as always, there's something that can be learned from it. So, Mark, what are your? Do you want to go through your 4 lessons first? Or
Mate, let's alternate them again, just in case there's any similarities. But my first one is that 2020 has taught me that I was right to prioritize the absolute basics. So I'm talking there in terms of equipment, space, programming, progressions, regressions, understanding the inner workings, if you like, of what you're trying to achieve from making someone do something. So then if everything, all the bells and whistles are taken away just like that, if you understand the basics well enough and you've got good enough foundational sort of principles of personal training, you can adapt and just switch things to fit the person's current environment. So yeah, 2020 has taught me that that is definitely a good thing to be on top of.
yeah, agreed. I think that's a massively important thing. And I think there are so many PTs out there that focus on all these different things and like within their business, within their coaching, within all this stuff. Like, for example, with me, recently, I've been debating deleting all my Instagram accounts. I've got 6 Instagram accounts.
Jesus.
Yeah, for various things.
What are they?
Let me load them up and I'll show you. It's either 5 or 6. So, 1 second. So I've got my personal one, which is Josh Mullin _PT Toolbox. Sorry, there's 5, not 6. Then there's the PT Toolbox page. Then there's the Southend Personal Trainer Academy page. Then there's 365 Habits, which is my coaching business. And then there's also my survival one, which is a little bit, that's kept anonymous. So you're the first person. This is the first time I've ever told anyone about it. That's relatively new. So that's something I want to start doing.
Mate, first rule of survival group is don't fucking talk about survival group.
I know, right? It's got all my weapons. It's got when I butchered a deer.
An old deer.
Well, there you go. Look.
An old deer. Oh, look at Bethel.
I know, right? She's gone now. She didn't lift kettlebells, so I had to kill Grandma.
Yeah, I think what you've done there. Topical back to an existing point in the chat.
No, right. UK PTs 10, Wolversons, get after it. So, yeah, so I've been looking at really reducing down, going back to the whole Pareto's law of the 80-20 principle. And I'm like, man, do I really need a LinkedIn account?
Parkinson's law is 80-20, I think.
Is it? You sure?
Yeah, I think. Let me double check. I think Parkinson's is 80-20 and Pareto's is the fact that time will expand, a task will expand to fill the time given to it.
I bet you 20 quid that you're wrong.
I'm happy to be wrong.
So
no, I am. I've got the wrong way around. Yeah, you're right.
With that, like I've been looking at where does most of my income come from. So it's PT Toolbox, and where do most of the PT Toolbox people come from? It's UK PTs. So I'm like, do I really need a LinkedIn account? Do I need Instagram accounts? Do I need X, Y, and Z? And I've been really kind of really cutting down on as much as possible in all manners. So financially, I've been cutting down my expenses. I've been cutting down my workload through things like LinkedIn, stuff like that. So yeah, I think going back to the basics is a very, very good idea. And I think also kind of related, I think writing all of that down. So having a set procedure for the basic stuff that you do. So, right, when a new client comes to me, I do X, Y, and Z, and I do it in the simplest way possible. When this happens, I do X, Y, and Z. Having it written down means that if you're ever fucked, like if you're ill or you get injured or whatever, someone else can take your place and carry on doing those tasks. Yeah, sorry, that was a bit of a tangent there.
No, you're exactly right. And it becomes, I mean, that's sort of like, that's the next step ahead of being like a one-man band personal trainer, when you're then starting to sort of shift some business to other people who you don't have time to fit in, and you maybe start to build like a team of PTs that buy into your ethos, but for them to be delivering things to the level that your brand is renowned for, then it has to be in black and white. And this is the procedure. This is the journey that everyone goes along. And that is exactly the same. Where it's different is the little tweaks for the individual people as it's needed, to give them that, like the uniqueness that they require. But the basic structure, the nuts and the bolts are the same. Easy to teach to a monkey who can then take over from you if needed.
Exactly. And I think, I've seen it multiple times where people have not had things in place like standard operating procedures. They haven't taken the time to educate people coming into their teams, and it has absolutely ruined their business. Because like you say, if it doesn't tie in with the overall brand, then you're going to lose customers really, really quick. And that can ruin years of hard work. I've seen it happen before. Yeah, it's terrible when it happens. It's ridiculous because it's so fast. You can't really, once it starts happening, you have to act really fast. Otherwise you can't stop it.
Yeah. But even for the vast majority of people who won't have a team of trainers operating underneath them, they are just one-man bands, then having faith in the absolute basics in everything, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's programming, whether it's coaching cues and skills, they never underestimate the importance. And that comes up when we've spoken to some of the leading educators and names in the industry in just a short space of time, and none of them talk about the ridiculous complex structures within their business. Everything is just fucking simple.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Ben Coomber as an example, his business has got...
Ben Coomber is simple. You heard it here first.
His business has got, like 7 parts to it? But he never talks about how much he's doing or how he's having to put out these fires and stuff. He's got everything nice and systemized and standardized, and then it's just, you can just grow from there. It's a massive. So my first lesson from 2020 is having a contingency plan is probably one of the most important parts of your business. And obviously, people that have listened to these shows now probably understand that I have a bit of a survivalist tendency anyway. So having a contingency plan for me is just something that I've always done, always. And some people might see it as being paranoid, but a lot of people didn't think we were going to go into a second, let alone a third lockdown. And there are people that have probably lost houses, families, wives, relationships, whatever, because they didn't have a plan in place and they lost their income due to the second and third lockdown, when they could have sorted something out either before the first lockdown or during the first lockdown. So like, for example, I moved my entire PT Toolbox business onto another platform at the beginning of lockdown 1 to provide some better benefits for myself. And it has helped massively. So much so that the people that host my website now have written an article about me and the change that I made before lockdown.
I saw that. I was reading it the other day. So from Thinkific.
Yeah. And
mate, That's big time, to be fair, because they, in the current climate, other than Zoom, Thinkific are fucking up there as one of the probably like the fastest growing tech brands of the last 12 months.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just, but it was all just about having a contingency plan. So like this office that I'm sitting in right now, that was all just a contingency plan because the gym that we were using as our office got shut down. So we had to move quickly. And within like 24 hours of making the decision to leave the gym, we found a new place and moved in. Like it was just boom, make it happen. So you don't get, if you have contingency plans, you don't get surprised by things happening. Like you can just react faster rather than having to go, oh, fucking hell, what do I do? You just go, okay, cool, we've planned for this. Yeah. Execute the plan, and that's it. So yeah, that's
my whole life I've played sport and mostly rugby, and yes, you have like a game plan. So our plan for the game is this, and you'll even, for those who know the sport of rugby, you'll have kind of like set pieces. You say, right, well, from this line out, we're going to do this move, and all going well. We do it in training unopposed, and you score every single time. But obviously, you've got opponents that are standing in the way that are busting their balls to stop you from scoring. So yes, you have to have a plan A, but you also have to be able to react like with a split second, because if someone's in a different position to where you thought they were going to be, or if something happens and one pass further up the chain isn't as good as it should have been, well, the whole thing, you can't just go, oh, guys, wait, can we just do that again? Because I was supposed to pass it to him who was supposed to go through that gap and then score. God, let's all go back to where we were and we'll set it up again. You can't do that. It's fucking gone. You have to be able to react. And sometimes plan A doesn't fucking work, and plan B doesn't fucking work. Plan C doesn't even work. And you have to come together and go, right, now what we're going to do? We've tried this, we've tried that, we've tried the other. Now we're going to have to try this. And you just have to be able to come up with different plans. And it's a lot of people probably won't have been in those situations, but a lot of people will. And I think they're very transferable skills. Something we talked about before we pressed record on the podcast is about getting guests in the future who succeed in other industries and in other areas that can probably teach personal trainers something that can be transferred into helping them. We were talking about like military, special forces personnel, but I think sportsmen and athletes and stuff like that, there'll be gold dust in there of stuff that you can implement into your business. What can you learn from another industry? And thinking on your feet, being able to just chop and change direction quickly and efficiently from a business sense is absolutely crucial, as 2020 has proven. If you're not capable of doing that, and you just stand there going, all my business is face-to-face training in the gym on fucking Park Lane, and now I'm not allowed to go in there. So, oh well, never mind. We'll just sit here and wait for it to change.
So I've got a guest that I'm trying to work on for the new year. I'll tell you when we're off recording, but it's just remind me about that, because it could be a big one, like a really big one.
Big one. Can you give us a clue?
It's
a bloke.
Yes, he is South African.
Yeah.
He once raced the cheetah.
Oh, I know it. Brian Habana.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. I thought you were going to say Oscar Pistorius. If you can get Oscar Pistorius on, that would be very good.
Yeah, but then legally, if anything happened, we wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
Hey!
Cool. Yes. So I'll talk to you about that after. But so what was your second lesson from 2020?
My second lesson was that I cannot do everything. It's okay being a jack of all trades, but you're going to be master of none. It's all right sticking your hat in the ring to be able to sort of do a little bit of lots of different things. But I think we have to accept that none of us can do absolutely everything. And the lesson for me has been in surrounding myself. I mean, this is based on my role with Future Fit now. Last 3 months or so, I've been working full time with them. And in terms of writing a course, okay, I can write a course, but you've then got the IT team who bring it to life on an online platform. You've got the what they called, like the people who film shit, like that department. James won't be happy with me calling them the people who film shit, but you've got like the people who do all of the camera work and the editing, blah blah blah. You've got like teams of people that go back through what I've written to challenge it and improve it and pick holes in it, and the end product that comes out of the end is 10 times better than if I just arrogantly sat there. I'm going to write a course, I'm going to film it on my webcam, and I'm going to post it online, and 6 people are going to see it, and none of them are going to give a shit about it, and it's going to be a waste of time. But by surrounding myself and being part of a great big team where you've got experts within different areas makes such a difference. So the lesson there for a PT is to, and we've talked about this most weeks, is to like create a network of credible professionals that are in your area that you can work with. If you want a new logo designed, don't pay £5 on Fiverr. Find the 300 quid that it costs for a graphic designer to do it properly. Just go above and beyond and do things well and do it properly and use trained professionals. One of my bugbears is when people will people sort of put in the group, oh, does anyone know where you can get some cheap dumbbells? Well, what message does that give to your clients if everything about your business is cheap? It's the cheapest, shittest, nastiest t-shirts, dumbbells, flooring, whatever. What message does that portray about your brand?
Yeah.
So like, stop being fucking cheap. Stop doing things easiest way possible, and surround yourself with a team and a network of very good, credible, trusted people. And that shit might cost you money, but it'll earn you more in the long run.
Exactly. It should make you more money in the long run, definitely. And it's something I think a lot of PTs underestimate, is like the value of, for example, branding, the clothing that you wear, the equipment that all of that ties in with your overall brand image. And that is hugely important. Like we had, so with Southend PT Academy, we were based out of an Exercise for Less, and the gym itself was massive. It was 21,000 square foot. It was huge. And we had an office upstairs in like a staff only bit. So the only things upstairs were our classroom, my office, and then a staff room for the Exercise for Less staff. The problem was they had problems with the building that they didn't fix. So like there were holes in the roof. So when it rained, you would literally have like showers of water, like hundreds and thousands of litres of water coming in. They had to section off the functional zone for a week while it dried out and shit like that. And I'm like, we can be the best. Like we had our classroom painted and decorated and it looked amazing and all of our stuff was really high tech and it was fucking awesome. But then if someone comes in and they see that there's water coming out of the ceiling in the gym, what are they going to think about us?
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing to do with us. It's not our problem whatsoever, but it's 100% our problem because it affects our...
You're guilty by association, aren't you?
Exactly that. So, yeah.
That's just... I've been a one-man band for the vast majority of my career, and that's probably why I fucking struggled so much, because it's just very, very, very difficult. Look at all the people we've had on: James, Ben, Phil Lerney, etc., Emma Story-Gordon. They've all got Rachel France. They all have a team of people in the background that do the stuff that they can't do. None of us can do everything. So just find whatever niche, the thing that you can do, but then have other people in place that can help you do the other stuff. The podcast, for example, my suggestion to you was that I do this podcast by myself. So you didn't have to add extra stuff to your timetable. It would have been fucking shit. What would I be doing now? Sitting here like twiddling my thumbs, fucking talking to myself. It would have been shit. And then how would I have done the editing and the posting and all the fucking shit behind the scenes that you do? By doing it with someone else, it's so much better than doing it by yourself. And there's a massive, massive lesson there. I think it's difficult to loosen the reins, but I think there's massive advantages to doing so.
Massively agree. And I think it kind of ties in with my next point. So my next lesson is about using time productively. And so I delegate a lot of stuff. So with Southend PT Academy now, I don't do any of the teaching or assessing. I just kind of get the students in, and then Steve handles the rest, basically. So what that allows me to do is spend my time working on other things that are going to make me money. So I look at, it goes back to my point earlier about the 80-20 rule. And, you know, I've tried posting on LinkedIn every day. I got barely anything from it. I try posting on Instagram most days. And for most of the pages, not a lot comes from it, except for one page, which gets loads from Instagram. And again, I think it comes down to working out what activities and tasks are actually making you money and what things is just busy work, you know? And I think a lot of PTs really struggle with that. And again, another shameless plug, I'm doing a group mentoring thing in January. And one of the lessons is about a matrix that I've come up with where it's got the important and urgent vectors, or whatever you want to call it. And if it's not urgent, not important, you just delete the task. If it's important and urgent, you do it straight away, and vice, whatever. So I think using your time productively, as well as, choosing what to delegate, is a massive advantage that a lot of PTs aren't using. Yeah, crazy.
Even like as simple as it sounds, let's say if someone just write down almost like a diary of what I've done this previous week, and then go back through. So you got it all written out on a piece of paper, and then go back through and work out like what you earn from it. And then you can quickly sort of see, well, I've done 4 PT sessions on Zoom, and I charged 30 quid for each one. So that's made me 120 quid. Then I fucked about doing this, that, or the other, and it hasn't actually earned me anything. Mm-hmm. But the caveat to this would be like there's a fine line between then understanding when you're planting seeds. So let's say I've spent a day creating 30 little Facebook posts, and I've written up little like 1-paragraph posts talking about my business. It's taken me all day to do it. I've earned fuck all from it, so I'll cross that off the list. No, because that's going to be then your material for the next 30 days, that if you've got your wits about you and you're quite good with your copywriting and you make it engaging and fun and interesting, that might earn you more money in the long run. So you just got to be aware of, in exactly the same way we would say to a client wants to lose weight, and we'll say, well, have you got any idea how many calories you consume? No. Have you got any idea how much activity you did last week? No, not really. So, well, of course you haven't lost any weight because you've not measured anything, you idiot. So for a start, let's make sure we're consistent and we do 3 half-hour like power walks round the block a week. And at the same time, let's scan everything on MyFitnessPal. And at the end of the week, don't worry about reduce anything. Just scan it every day and get into the habit of doing that. And then we can see why you've put on 2 pounds this week. Oh yeah, because calories coming in have been way more than the calories going out. So now we know what we need to tweak. But if we do the same thing from a business perspective and say, right, what are we spending our time on and what income are we gaining from it? Then you can start saying, well, actually, when I sat and watched 4 episodes of Game of Thrones back to back, that earned me fuck all. So maybe I could cut that down to 2 episodes and use the other 2 hours to write 10 Facebook posts that are going to be scheduled for next month. Something like that. I'm making it up as I go along. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is why I'm launching that mentorship again, because I feel like there's a lot of PTs out there that don't have the guidance necessary to implement these changes. Like I think a lot of the stuff we say is common sense to us, but to a lot of people that have just started out or haven't had any guidance or access to the people that we've got access to, it might not be as obvious, you know?
Yeah.
So
also, in that same vein, they also have got every single person giving them expert advice. Like, so it can become very easy to be confused.
Definitely.
That fucking pisses me off when that happens as well. There should be like, how can I say this diplomatically? It's lovely that everybody's allowed to have an opinion, but wasn't life better when you didn't know everyone's opinion on every fucking thing? I think it was. Go back 20 years ago and you didn't know what your neighbour thought about Brexit, about COVID, about Black Lives Matter, about wearing a mask. Like, life was better when you didn't know every single person's opinion on every fucking thing, like whether this striker should be played instead of this one. Also, I didn't realise you're fucking Sir Alex Ferguson. Like, just, yes, all right, we're allowed opinions, but we shouldn't be allowed to fucking share them everywhere. And you'll get, like, I was going to put this in one of my rants, but fuck it, we'll do it now. Well, there's someone asked a question in the group yesterday about, or the day before, something like, can anybody recommend any good Pilates courses? Like, how many people do you know that have done a Pilates course? Let's say I've come across 500 people that have done a Pilates course. How many people do I know that have done 2 Pilates courses?
Not many.
None. I don't know anyone that's done 2 Pilates courses. So anyone that responds to a question like that has got fuck all to compare their answer to. Yes, you can say, I did it with so-and-so and it was good, but what you can't say is Joe Bloggs is the best, because you don't fucking know. Just because you did your course with them, if you've done 6 Pilates courses with 6 different schools, then you can say this one is the best, in my opinion, for this reason. Still doesn't make it the gospel truth. It just makes it your opinion on it, because someone else will have done another one and they'll think that was the best. So it pisses me off when people have only got experience of one thing and then they try to claim that that is the best thing. It might not be. You just did it and you fucking enjoyed it. It might have been absolute shit, but because you got nothing to compare it to, you don't know. Annoys me. You get people who maybe have their own Pilates course, they'll chip up and go, Mark Lawes' Pilates school, I'll DM you. Well, if you're that fucking desperate for business, probably not the best Pilates school in the world. Or fucking Gary from Kidderminster has got a mate that's a Pilates tutor, so he'll always fight for his corner because he's his mate. Well, it doesn't mean it's the fucking best. It just means it's your mate. Like, your mate could be doing fucking pedo tutorials and you'll say it's the best because he's your mate. Like, doesn't mean everyone should go and do it.
Fucking hell.
It annoyed me. It annoyed me when I read it.
Did it annoy you? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, because someone who's naive and who knows no better will look at that and go, oh, someone said this one is the best, so I'm going to go and spend all my money on it. Or they've said this one's the best. But the reasons for it being promoted might not be the right reasons.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
To the best of my knowledge, there were no shit schools of Pilates that were suggested in that post. But my point is that type of question is far more likely to confuse the person who's asked it or send them in the wrong direction for the wrong reason than to actually give them the suitable product for them and their requirements.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, moving
Anyway,
on.
I got that off my chest.
So, what was your next lesson from 2020?
A quick one was 2020 has taught me that prevention is better than the cure.
Okay, please elaborate.
So you can either look at that from a health perspective. So I'm no I can't even speak, let alone, that's why I didn't pass my professor exams. I'm not claiming to be like a bloody medical expert because, of course, I'm not. I'm a retard. But it is fairly clear that fit, healthy, strong people are a bit safer than weak, vulnerable, overweight people who have got existing medical conditions. So some of those they might not have had a choice about. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who have got preventative conditions that have then made them more susceptible to the coronavirus. But I think that goes for any illness, like even if it's a cough and a cold that comes around. So prevention is definitely better than the cure in terms of what we've been through this year. But I think it also translates to a business perspective. So, for example, I'm thinking on my feet here. Let's say if I've got a business and it's going well, and I've got loads of clients, I'm making decent money, and I take my foot off the pedal when it comes to lead generation, then all of a sudden, if something happens and a big chunk of my clients disappear, well, now all of a sudden I'm fucked because I've got a big dip in income. So the cure for that is to generate more leads, but preventing that ever becoming a problem by constantly addressing some of the key foundation, basic business principles would have made it less likely to be harmful to me.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think that ties into my next point quite well, which is, well, this is my final lesson from 2020 actually, which is perspective changes everything. Like your outlook changes everything. So a lot of people at the moment are like, oh my God, fucking 2021 is going to be shit. Don't jinx it. I'm like, man, I'm going to go into 2021. I'm going to grab it and I'm going to kick it in the groin. I'm going to show 2021. Go on.
I'm gonna fuck it in the arse.
Wow. Okay. Very aggressive. But that's exactly, I'm not going to fuck it in the arse, but I am going to go into 2021 aggressively. And when we talk about our kind of goals, and objectives for 2021, you'll see what I mean by that. And this whole process of lockdown, coronavirus, I'll be honest, there's been a couple of days where I've been like, oh man, fucking hell. In fact, no, there's probably been one day. And that's when I was super tired when my son was first born and I was just a bit fucking over it, like the whole lockdown thing. But generally speaking, the whole of lockdown, I've just seen as an opportunity. And that's, your perspective is going to change everything.
Yeah.
That's it.
The glass could be half full or it could be half empty, couldn't it? It's like, it's the same, just you can look at it in two different ways.
Exactly.
And that has a massive impact on your mood, your energy, your drive, your passion, your determination to succeed. Oh, but it's half empty. Oh, fuck. Miserable cunts. Like, fucking get over it.
Okay, Mark, do you want to run me through your goals for 2021, please?
Yeah, I can do. How many have you got?
I've got 4.
Oh, I've got 11.
Okay.
Well, I think some of them are linked, so I can let me link a few of them together. Right. So my first set of goals are based around business, like professional stuff. And as you know, but I don't think anybody else really does other than close friends and family, we have a second baby on its way in June. So my main goal is over the next 6 months to create and establish a couple of sort of more passive income streams so I can be a little bit more sensible and have steady stream of income, maybe some things that can be automated that just sort of chip away a couple £100 here or there, just so I can, if I need to take a little bit more of a step back, because obviously I'm going to have to spend a bit more time helping with family, then that is that's my main thing. It's something that I've been rubbish at doing in the past, but I'm definitely going to be doing that now, and that will include me starting off the year by taking part in the upcoming, I don't know if you know about it, but there's a PT Toolbox mentorship.
Yes. I've heard.
So you heard about it?
I have.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hijack that. I'm gonna jump in and listen and learn and implement. I'm gonna use that to set up my online coaching products, taking into consideration all the things that we talk about all the time. I'm going to get all that done. I've also got my 1 dumbbell challenge that is all written, prepared. I've been using it for a couple of years. Started off when I used to teach underground strength face to face. I used to give people something that I called the 1 dumbbell workout, and that was, as it says, just 1 dumbbell. And the exercise started really, really simple and the reps were higher. And then as the exercise got more complex, the reps came down. And there was about 5 movements in it that sort of I used to progress the complexity of the drills. But I've now developed that. So there's 12 exercises. And I reckon I've done it in a way so that it could be like a one-off workout that someone does once, just as a laugh, or it could almost be like a lifetime's worth of programming and progressions and like loads of different layers. So it's all written, it's all developed. I just need to kind of actually put it together, put it online, market it, sell it, and hopefully that becomes something that just sort of brings a little passive income. So that's all sort of all linked into my one sort of thing, for my business development, to allow me to have a a more passive income.
Nice. Okay. What's the next one?
On my next one, I need to cross these off as I've gone through them now. So I've gone through that and that. I'm going to make time in my schedule to not only to read, but to also implement stuff. Read and learn, because it might not all be reading, whether it's like audiobooks or podcasts, webinars, stuff like that. I'm just going to definitely put a set time slot per week or an amount of time a day, just like read a chapter of a book, make notes on it, come out with like a plan, implement it and stuff like that. I've got so many books laying around, most that I've not even opened, or I've just flicked through, read a couple of pages, looked at the pictures and the front and back cover, and that's it. So yeah, I'm gonna make more time to read, learn, and implement information.
Nice. Okay. What's up next? Personal goals. I'm 40 this year. No, I'm not. I'm 40 next year. So in end of 2021, I'll turn 40. So I've got a couple of things that I'd like to tick off. One of them is to publish a book, which will be done. I'm doing something with Ben Coomber, Rachel France, and Stephen Aish. Something that's been in the pipeline for a little while. Basically, it'll be like a textbook for a PT, where Stephen Aish will be writing a chapter on mindset. Ben will be writing a chapter or a section on nutrition. Rachel will then be talking about movement and mechanics, and then I'll be adding the final section on programming and delivering and executing a session. So something we've talked about for a little while, and I'll need to sort of put my section together and then and release that. So that'll be one thing. And the other thing I'd like to do is like some sort of stupid physical event. And I'm toying around. I've got 3 or 4 different things that I've penciled in. I just need to sort of work out logistics, how long it will take, how long I'll be allowed out to play for, because some of them take months, some take weeks, some take days. So I need to see how long the boss will allow me to invest my time into some sort of ridiculously stupid physical challenge. And that will be like charitable, because there's a few things that I sort of would like to start to do some good, to give back, if you like. And I think there's a lot of people who are physically disadvantaged, and whereas I'm fairly sort of average, as it were, in terms of my physical state, I would like to do something physical to sort of raise money for those who can't. There's also growing mental health issues, so there's a lot of people who are affected by all manner of mental health sort of things. And again, I've been in bad places, and I think I've worked my way out of them. And again, I would like to raise awareness, and if not, maybe finances to help those people who could do with it. And then there's another one, being a recent dad and soon to be dad again. Like, it like fucking breaks me when you see like children who can't have a meal or like clothes or basic necessities. So like something, if I could do some form of stupid physical event that allows me to help those 3 areas, then that would be something that I would like to tick off. Nice. Okay, and what's your next one?
The last thing I've got would be personal stuff. would be kettlebell sport. I'm going to train for it, compete in it with the aim of getting it into the England squad. Maybe not next year, but that's the long-term aim. Couple of writing side hustles. I do write a lot. I like to write, and I've got a few plans for a few things that I'm going to do with those. UK PT Podcast live. So a live event when live events are possible, hopefully sometime in 2021, but if not, it'll be after that. But I think I'd love for us to have like a theatre, a couple of hundred people in there, maybe have 3 or 4 guests throughout the day and just record 3 or 4 podcasts live in the flesh. That'd be quite a cool thing to do. And then my final thing from a personal perspective is to be a bit more selfish and do more stuff for money, and to not be afraid of doing things for money, and to charge what my time is worth rather than just doing stuff and not getting what I should get out of it.
Makes a lot of sense, man.
I think there I've given you all 11. Yeah, I've given you all 11, but in the guise of just being 4. I've tricked you.
Nice. See, I've added a couple more to mine now, so I'm actually on 7.
All right, we haven't got all day.
So, number 1. So the first 4 are like business or professional related. So number 1 is by the end of 2021, I want to get PTs Toolbox to £20,000 a month income, which I think is doable, quite doable. I would very much like to run our live events again that we were running before. Do you remember the ones that,
Yeah.
But we're going to change it. So the plan is to do a summer and a winter conference where it's over 3 days at the Hilton in Gatwick. So they've got conference rooms and stuff. So do a 3-day event in 2021. We'll do 2 events, sorry. I would like to get UK PTs to 25,000 members by the end of 2021, because we're on 15,000 now. So I think another 10,000 members is a big push, but I think it could be done. I've just started my Master of Business Administration, my MBA. So I want to get that finished. It should be done by October. So that should be really, really good. That's learning from some of the best people in the world. So like the founders of Uber and Spotify and people like that. Cool. So that should make a massive difference, because I do a relatively moderate amount of consulting for companies, and I think this will just help to solidify that a bit more. I love learning about this stuff. Like for me, business is more like a hobby. Like I enjoy it. I like learning about details about people's companies and stuff like that, and finding solutions to problems. And then more on the personal, the next 3, we spoke a little bit pre-recording about Christmas and like the amount of shit that is associated with Christmas, like the commercialism and stuff. So me and my wife will be volunteering, soup kitchens and that sort of stuff. And she's releasing this thing that she's doing in the next week or so, where she's going to be doing 12 challenges over the year, all related to giving to charity, all various things. So yeah, volunteering is something that we're going to be doing. So Christmas Eve next year, New Year's Eve, we'll be volunteering. Me, my wife and my daughter will all be doing it. Number 6 is getting back to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because obviously with lockdown, that's all been closed, but I really enjoy choking people wearing pajamas. And then I want to get down to 12% body fat. So my body fat is quite high back from when I was a powerlifter or powerlifter-ish. Heavy lifting, heavy eating. So I just want to get that down more for the health benefits and for my kids and stuff, and then that's pretty much it, to be honest. So, yeah.
Pretty solid, mate. Some good things on the list there.
It's getting there. And there's a lot more that I could add in, but, more about the time issues of the podcast,
Yeah. Well, I just to add to that, like I write about this every year at this time of year, and it's about New Year's resolutions when people were like, right, I'm just gonna, when it gets to next Friday, and is that New Year's Eve Friday? Well, New Year's Day, isn't it? I think. So like from next Friday, I'm gonna give up the fags. I'm not gonna have takeaways. And I'm going to start going to the gym. But, well, if you have to count down in your calendar to a day before you start doing all those things, you're never going to stick to them. So I always try to avoid, like, New Year's resolutions. So when we had the chat about the plan for this podcast, I've sort of written it down. It was almost like my 12-month plan that just happens to be starting 3 days before the end of 2021. So like there's things on this list that I've already started working on. I haven't waited until the 1st of January to then go, right, now it's time for a fresh leaf, and I'm going to start doing it now. So if it's important enough to you to have something that if it's important enough for you to achieve something, start it now. Don't wait for a week next Tuesday when it's a certain day in the calendar or something like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you just, my list, as I'm sure your list, is like a 12-month plan of things to get in, not necessarily a list of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. Same. Mine are starting now pretty much. So, I've got some phone calls booked in for today and stuff because I'm only working today and then I'm back in next week. So, yeah, I've got to get cracking on those today. Because, the MBA I've already started. Well, I've started the pre-material. UK PTs, growing that to 25,000. That should be relatively organic, but also with the help of some of our sponsors, spreading the word as well. That should happen in the next couple of weeks. Running the live events, that's just kind of I'm going to get everything planned and everything ready. So as soon as they say, right, we're opened up again, then I can just execute the plan.
Yeah. Well, mate, kill two birds with one stone. Let's say like, out of a 3-day live event, just have like half of one of the days, 3 podcast recordings or something like that.
Yeah, I'll be up for that, definitely. 100%.
It's an easy way to fill like Friday and Saturday, fill it with people doing presentations and practical workshops, but the Sunday is like sit down and watch the podcast live or something like that, or the other way around.
Yeah.
Friday's podcast, the weekend is the face to like the workshops.
Yeah, sounds awesome, man. I'm down for that. So yeah, I think one other thing to kind of finish the podcast on is I put out a post in UK PTs a week or so ago saying that it was when the Tier 4 was announced for the UK, saying that people don't have to do this on their own. And I think to finish off 2020 and our series of podcasts so far, I think I would like to say to everyone that's listened or watched or whatever, or has interacted with us in the group, that we are here to advise and to help if needed. And that if anybody needs any help from us, all they have to do is reach out either via message or on one of our posts on Facebook or a YouTube comment or an email, however, carrier pigeon, whatever you need to kind of discuss. Just remember that me and Mark are here, not 24/7 because that's unreasonable, but we are around if you need us. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Mate, Absolutely, yeah. There's nobody who's sent a message so far who's been ignored. There's nobody that's going to have a stupid question that we can't, at least, even if we can't help with, at least sometimes just sharing the problem. Chances are we've been around the block enough times to have experienced something similar, and I think if people listen to this thinking that we think we're fucking experts on every element of personal training, then they're idiots, because we absolutely don't. And I think we probably share our failures and our insecurities as much as we do our successes and moments of fortune. And I like to think that should come across fairly well. So we're in the same boat, really. Like, we both have a vested interest in personal training, although neither of us do it full time anymore, but we have done for decades between us. And just because we work a bit more in education, we've still got our the PT door is still open, and if someone needs help or they've got a problem, then I think we can give a fairly sensible response, rather than the shower of shit that you'll get if you ask it publicly.
So I think, with that being said, I hope everyone has a good new year. And again, if you've got any comments, questions, whatever, feel free to comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast player. And I think for today, we're done.
We're done, mate. Happy New Year, everybody.
Boom.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. Don't forget to check back weekly for new episodes. If you want to join the UK's largest Facebook group for personal trainers, just search for UK PTs.